Good morning. Today we are going to start the next lesson, that's the thin shell. Okay. In this lesson, we are going to study the stresses induced, the deformation of the thin cylindrical as well as spherical shell. In our day-to-day life, you must have observed that here there are some pressure vessels. Okay, for example, LPG gas cylinder, boiler, then air compressor tank, then water tanker, oil tanker, gas tanker. Yeah, these are some of the vessels which are subjected to the internal pressure. Okay, and the shell of this vessel, we are going to consider it is a thin shell. Okay, these vessels are subjected to some internal pressure. So in this lesson, the objective of this lesson or objective of this CO is to study, or you should, the student should be able to find out the different stresses induced in the shell of that pressure vessel, as well as what will be the deformation of that vessel, what will be the change in volume of that vessel because of the internal pressure. So that deformation and the change in volume should be within permissible limit here because of that internal pressure that we have to study in this lesson. Now, the another type of vessel is the thick vessel or thick shell. Here, in most of the chemical industries, here very large vessels are there. You must have observed that in chemical industries, very large vessels are there here, which are subjected to the very hot and pressurized fuel. Here, hazardous fuel also. Here, so in such cases, here the shell is very thick. This is the shell of the vessel here, which is very thick. So such type of shell is known as a thick shell here, and such type of vessel are known as a thick shell vessel or thick cylinder or thick spherical shell or thick cylindrical shell. Okay. Now on what basis here we are going to consider it as a thin shell or the thick shell? Yeah. So this in this thin shell, whenever I consider, I tell you about the diameter. So that diameter is always the inner diameter of this shell or this vessel. Okay, and this is the shell thickness. Yeah. So if here D by T ratio, if D by T ratio is greater than or equal to 20, here we can say that it is the thin shell. When D by T ratio is greater than or equal to 20, we can consider it as a thin shell. Whereas when D by T ratio here is less than, means when the thickness as compared to the diameter is small, here we can consider it as a thin shell, whereas when the thickness is bigger as compared to the diameter, here then it is known as a thick shell. Means when D by T ratio is less than 20 degree, it is known as a thick shell. Okay. Now another difference between the thick shell and the thin shell, here in your syllabus you have to study only thin shell. Thick shell is not in your syllabus. Here when you will study at your PG level, here then you have to study this thick shell. At UG level you have to study only the thin shell here. Or when you can pursue a project of pressure vessel, here, so during your project also, here you may require to study the thick shell also. The difference is that here, if I consider, here, suppose this is the thin shell, exaggerated figure, here, and this is the thick shell. Okay, so because of this internal pressure, here we are going to consider that in thin shell, here the pressure variation across the shell, the pressure variation we are going to consider it as a uniform. Okay, here this pressure variation is going to consider as a uniform in case of a thin shell. Means at this inner layer as well as at this outer layer, here the pressure intensity we are going to consider it as a uniform. Yeah. Whereas in case of a thick shell, here the stress induced, sorry, here also it was the stress. So stress intensity is remain uniform in case of a thin shell. At the inner shell or at the inner surface and the outer surface, the stress intensity is remain same. This stress is induced because of the internal pressure. Whereas in case of a thick shell, if I consider this as the inner surface and this as the outer surface, here the stress variation varies. Here the stress varies. At the inner layer, the stress is more. At the outer layer, the stress is less. Here, and it varies parabolically. There is a parabolic variation. Here, so this is not in your syllabus for the undergraduate level or at least for the second year. Here, for the project or for in the PG level, you may study this thick shell. Here, while considering the process equipment design, here or for designing of the pressure vessels. Okay, yeah, so we have to concentrate only in the thin shell, and initially we have to study which are the different type of stresses inducing the shell here of this thin vessel. Okay, now this thin shell is subjected to the internal pressure. Let's consider that this thin shell is subjected to the internal pressure, and when it is subjected to the internal pressure, it is a very common sense. When it is subjected to the internal pressure, here let's consider a balloon. Here when you blow the balloon, here the shell of the balloon is elongated. And when there is a elongation, here which type of stresses are induced in the shell? Here, so the nature of the stresses induced in the shell because of the internal pressure are tensile in nature. They are tensile in nature. Here, just imagine it is exactly similar when you blow the balloon. Here the shell is elongated. Okay, here, and the tensile stresses are induced in the shell of the vessel. Okay, on the other hand, sometimes the inside pressure is less than the outside pressure. Outside pressure is more. When you blow the balloon, or in case of the LPG cylinder, the inner pressure is greater than the outer pressure. Normally the outer pressure is the atmospheric pressure, and inner pressure here is more than the atmospheric pressure. Here, so when inner pressure is more than the atmospheric or outer pressure, like a balloon, here the stresses induced in the shell, the nature is a tensile stresses. Here, on the other hand, let's imagine a case when the external pressure or outer pressure is more than the inner pressure. Here, for example, the submarine. Here, submarine which moves inside the water. Here, so when it moves inside the water at the sea water, here the depth is more. So in that submarine, here the external pressure is more than the internal pressure. And when external pressure is more than the internal pressure, here then also the stresses are induced in the cylindrical shell or spherical shell. Here, but the nature of that stresses, when outside pressure is more, it tries to compress that shell. Here, so in that case, the nature of the stresses induced are compressive. I'm talking only about the nature of the stresses. Okay, so when inner pressure is more than the outer pressure, the nature of the stresses induced in the shell are tensile. For example, the LPG gas cylinder or the boiler. or the air compressor tank here. Whereas when the external pressure is more here than the internal pressure, here for example the submarine, here the nature of the stresses induced are the compressive. Okay. Now when the thin shell is subjected to the pressure, maybe internal or external. Okay. Which are the type of stresses? These are the nature, what I said, tensile and compressive, these are the nature. Now I'm going to tell you the type of stresses induced in the thin shell. Here, so because of the internal and external pressure, the two type of stresses are induced in the thin shell. Which are them? The first one is a circumferential stress. Stress, or it is also known as the hoop stress. The second type of stress is the longitudinal stress. Circumferential stress or the hoop stress and the longitudinal stress. These are the two type of stresses induced in the shell, here a thin shell, maybe cylindrical or spherical, but we have to consider the circumferential stress or the hoop stress and the longitudinal stress. Here. Now, what is the circumferential stress? Okay. Now, let's imagine the pressure inside the shell or pressure inside the vessel here is more or beyond the design pressure. Here, let's consider the balloon. If you goes on blowing the balloon, here one step will come, it will break. Okay. So similarly, when the thin shell is there, here when the internal pressure is more than the design pressure, here it may fail. And when, let's consider the first one is a cylindrical shell. Let's consider the cylindrical shell. We have to consider the two type of shells in this one. Thin shell में दो shell consider करने का है. One is a cylindrical and other one is a spherical shell. Yes, spherical shell. In chemical industry, sometimes the spherical shells are also there. Okay. Here, so when cylindrical shell is there, here let's consider this cylindrical shell. This is the, and initially we are going to assume that here these ends here are closed with the help of some flat plates. Here ends are the flat. They are closed with the flat plates. They are flat. Here, if you observe that some tankers, here you'll observe that the ends of the tankers are hemispherical like this. Okay. Here, this is the flat end. This is the hemispherical end. Here, what is the difference and what is the importance of the flat end and the hemispherical end, that also I will tell you later. Here, but initially let's assume that it is a flat end. So this is the cylindrical shell. Okay, this is the diameter in this shell. Whenever I say that it is a diameter, so by default it is the inner diameter. Okay, now which is subjected to some internal pressure. Now when this internal pressure is more than the design pressure, here it may fail. And when this cylindrical shell fail, here it may fail along its length. It may fail along its length. It may fail into two troughs. Here it may fail in such type of two troughs. Okay. Here, this is the surface along which it fails. So it may fail along into two troughs like this, or it may fail into two cylindrical parts. Here, it may fail along the length, or it may fail along the circumference. Okay, here this is the failure along the length. Here, and it may fail along the circumference also. Okay, this is the area where it failed. Here, so these are the two possibilities. Okay, now consider a cylindrical shell here which is split into two troughs. Here let's consider this type of failure. Okay, here consider such type of failure because of the internal pressure. Here I am drawing the proper figure. So Now, because of this is the diameter, okay, and here the pressure is acting like this. This is the internal pressure P. Okay, now it fell along this surface. Here now we know, just imagine when the shell is subjected to some internal pressure. Here, because of the internal pressure, here this shell here we get elongated. Because of this elongation, here one force of resistance is induced in the surface of the shell. Here, this is the force of resistance which is induced here, and this is the area which is resisted that pressure. Okay, this is the area of resistance. Okay, this area resisted. Okay, here, and this is the force of resistance. Here, now because of this, the pressure force here it get split into two troughs. Here, so this force exerted by this pressure here, which is responsible for this failure, is known as a bursting force. Okay, now how much is this bursting force in this case? Here, so in case of the earlier lesson, here this is the external applied axial load, because of which the internal resisting force is developed. Here, but here there is no any force here, but the force is generated because of this pressure here, and that force we can see it as a pressure force, or it is the bursting force. Because of this that failure takes place here. So that force is known as a bursting force here. So it is a bursting force. Now how much is this bursting force? The bursting force is nothing but the intensity of the pressure into the area on which it is acting. So let the intensity of the pressure is small p. Yeah, so bursting force equal to small p into area. Which area? Not the resisting area. To calculate the bursting force, it is the area on which that pressure is acting. Okay. Now, whenever we consider the pressure intensity, which is in Newton per millimeter square, this is the unit of the pressure. It is a Newton per millimeter square. Here, whenever the pressure is given, which is the force per unit area, here, so that pressure is always expressed here as a force acting per unit flat area. Okay, force acting per unit flat area. Okay, so actually the pressure is acting on this curved surface. But to calculate the pressure force or to calculate the bursting force, we don't consider this curved surface here, because this pressure intensity is given on the flat surface. And that's why instead of considering this curved surface, here we are going to consider the projected area on the flat surface. यार ये जो सरफेस पे प्रेशर एक्ट हो रहा है वो सरफेस का हम लोग प्रोजेक्टेड एरिया लेंगे. Yeah, so this projected area on this flat surface, so this is the projected area. Yeah, this is the projected area. If I consider D is the diameter of this cylinder and if the L is the length of this cylinder, let it is L is the length of this cylinder, then the projected area is D into L. Okay, and that's why the bursting force is P into that projected area, that is D into L. D is the internal diameter and L is the length here. So this becomes the bursting force. Okay, now when it is in equilibrium, here, when it will fail when this bursting force is greater than the resisting force. Okay, but in equilibrium what will happen? The bursting force is equal to the resisting force. Yeah, so in equilibrium the bursting force is equal to the force of resistance. Okay, that's why I can say that the force of resistance induced is equal to the bursting force. And how much is the bursting force? It is P into D into L. Here, force of resistance equal to the bursting force, or force of resistance equal to P into D into L. Here, and now we know that the stresses induced is equal to the force of resistance upon area of resistance. Now, how much is the force of resistance? It is P into D into L upon How much is the area of resistance? I told you that this force of resistance induced in this area. This is the shell where actual failure takes place. Here, so how much is this? Now, if I consider the shell thickness as T, D is the internal diameter, shell thickness is T, and L is the length here. Then how much is this area? It is T into L, and this area T into L. So how much is the total area of resistance? It is 2 times T into L. So LL get cancelled, and you will get the stress is P into D upon 2T. That is PD upon 2T. Okay. Now here, this force of resistance is induced along the circumference. Yeah. Here, this force of resistance is induced along the circumference. If you consider anywhere, the force of resistance is induced here. Now, since the force of resistance are induced along the circumference, here, this stress is known as the circumferential stress or the Hooke stress. Here, so how much is the magnitude of the circumferential stress induced in the thin shell? So the circumferential stress or the Hooke stress can be written as it is PD upon 2T. Derivations are important from the exam point of view. Clear? And you should know, okay, how do we get that formula? So sigma C is the circumferential stress, which is equal to PD upon 2T. Clear? Very simple. Here we assume that it is fell into two troughs. Here we have calculated the bursting force, resisting force, and resisting area, and from that one we have calculated the circumferential stress. Here, the second one is the longitudinal stress. Here, the stress which are acting along the length, the force of resistance which is acting along the length. Here, because of which जो stress induced होगा, that is known as the longitudinal stress. Here, so how to calculate the longitudinal stress? Here, the procedure is same. Okay, only when the force of resistance acts along the length, here the area of resistance will be along the circumference. Here, in that case, the cylinder will fail into two cylindrical parts. It will break into two cylindrical parts. Here, so if I consider any one cylindrical part, here now I am explaining you the longitudinal stress. Here. Okay, let's consider this is the thin shell which is subjected to the internal pressure. Okay, now this pressure is acting on this surface also, on this end also, and this pressure force is resisted by the force of resistance which is induced along this circumference. This is the force of resistance. Here, I am going to show it by the yellow chalk. This is the force of resistance. This force of resistance are acting along the length. That's why the corresponding stress is known as the longitudinal stress. Okay. Now, how to find out that longitudinal stress? Here, so in this case, here, when it will fail, here, how much is the bursting force? Now, bursting force is equal to the pressure intensity into this area on which that force is, pressure force is acting. Here, so this bursting force is equal to P into how much is this area on which the pressure force is acting? It is a circular area. So it is pi by 4 into d square. So pressure into pi by 4 into d square gives you the bursting force. Okay. Now we know that the bursting force is equal to the force of resistance. So in this case, the force of resistance is equal to P into pi by 4 d square. This is the force of resistance. Here. Now, since the force of resistance is along the length, here it is known as a longitudinal stress. Okay, which is equal to the force of resistance upon area of resistance. Here, so this force of resistance is P into pi by 4 into d square upon how much is the area of resistance here? So this is the area which is resisting this longitudinal force. This is the area here. So how much is this area? Here, internal diameter is d and the thickness is t. Now, if you let's imagine Here this area, this is the area which I want. Here this thickness is very, very small. Thickness is very, very small. Now, how to calculate this area? So this area, if you open this area, here if you develop this, here you have studied the development. Here if I open this area, then this thickness is t, and how much will be this length? It is pi into d equal to this circumference. Here, so this area is equal to, it is pi dt. Here this is the area of resistance, this area. Here don't use our normal formula, pi by 4 into d square minus this external diameter square minus internal diameter square. Don't use this formula. Okay, because thickness is very, very small. Clear? So it is pi dt. This is the area of resistance. Clear? If I simplify this, here this pi get cancelled, 1d get cancelled. Here, so it is pd upon 4t. This is the longitudinal stress. Clear? So in case of a thin shell, here these are the two type of stresses are induced. One stress is in which the force of resistance is induced along the circumference, which is equal to pd upon 2t. In other case, the force of resistance acts along the length, here, because of which the stresses induced are known as a longitudinal stress, here, which is equal to pd upon 4t. Okay, here, so sigma c equal to circumferential stress pd upon 2t and longitudinal stress equal to pd upon 4t. Okay, here these are the formulas which you have to remember here, and this is the concept here by using which we have derived that formulas. Okay. Now, whenever we want to design the thin shell, here design means design is based on the stresses only. Here for any, suppose we want to make a shell of mild steel. Now for mild steel, how much is the permissible stress? That you can calculate. Here, then with the help of that permissible stress, here we have to design the shell. Now design the shell means we have to design the internal diameter of that shell, thickness of the shell, length of the shell. Here, these are some design parameters. Here, now whenever you want to design the cylindrical shell, so cylindrical shell is always designed on the basis of circumferential stress, because the value of the circumferential stress is more than the longitudinal stress. Clear? The circumferential stress is equal to 2 times the longitudinal stress. Clear? This is the relation. Now, since the sigma c is greater than sigma l, here all the design calculations can be done on the basis of the circumferential stress and not on the basis of longitudinal stress. Okay. Then, if I consider one cylindrical shell, if I consider one cylindrical shell here, and if I consider a small part of this shell, here let's consider this small part of this shell. Here I am showing it like this. This is a small part of this shell here whose thickness is t, like this. Okay. Now along this length, here the longitudinal stress is acting. Here along the length, longitudinal stress is acting. This is sigma L. Here and along this circumference, here the circumferential stress are acting. Here, so this is the two stress system: biaxial stress, longitudinal and circumferential stress. Here, now you will observe that on this surface, here only longitudinal stress is acting, which is the normal to this surface. Here, similarly, this stress is also normal to this surface. These two stresses are perpendicular to each other. Now, if you observe this surface, here on this surface only normal stress is acting and no shear stress is acting on that surface. Here, since only longitudinal stress is acting and no shear stress is acting on this surface, here this stress is known as a principal stress. Okay, it is known as a principal stress. Here, one very, very important for civil as well as mechanical, here one lesson is there: principal planes and stresses. Here, we are going to study this after this lesson. Here, but that is the principal planes and stresses. Here, what is the principal stress? Here on any surface, only if normal stress is acting and no shear stress is acting, here then that normal stress is known as the principal stress. Clear? So, in case of a thin shell, here ये जो circumferential and longitudinal stress है, here these are acting on the surface on which there is no shear stress. And since there is no shear stress here, these both are the principal stresses. Here, out of that, this longitudinal stress is known as the minor principal stress, and this is the major principal stress because its value is more than this. Okay, here, which are mutually perpendicular to each other. Clear? So these are known as the principal stresses. Clear? That's why this lesson thin shell is in your syllabus. It is clubbed with the principal stresses. Clear? Or in fact, I assume that here this thin shell and the principal shell, principal stress and the thin shell should be studied together because the sigma C and sigma L are nothing but the principal stresses only. Okay, clear? Now, if these are the principal stresses, clear, which are perpendicular to this, clear? So, because of this normal stresses, this material fail, or in this material, the shear stress is also acting on an inclined plane. Clear? Till now, we have studied that when normal or normal stress is acting, they are responsible to produce the direct stresses only. But remember one thing, in case of the principal planes and stresses, we are going to study that the normal stresses here are also responsible to induce the shear stress. Okay, here, for example, suppose this is one rod and it is subjected to this normal stress. But this normal stress is also responsible to induce the shear stress on some inclined plane. Okay, so in case of a thin shell, here this normal, this sigma L and sigma C are nothing but the principal stresses here, or these are the normal stresses. These are the direct stresses here. So these normal stresses or direct stresses are also responsible to induce the shear stress on this inclined surface. Okay, here, and when the normal stresses here, if I denote this as a sigma n, this is sigma n1 and this is sigma n2. Sigma n1, n stand for the normal stresses here, and this sigma n1 and sigma n2, these we are going to denote it as a major principal stress and minor principal stress. Here, if this is major principal stress and minor principal stress here, then the maximum shear stress because of this normal stress, this is the maximum shear stress induced because of the normal stress. Here, there is no any shear force. इसमें shear force नहीं है. This is the shear stress induced because of this normal stresses. Okay, here, so the shear stress induced in this shell here, maximum shear stress induced in the shell. If you consider the another surface, उस पे भी shear stress रहेगा, ये plane पे भी shear stress रहेगा, but the intensity varies. That only we have to study in principal planes and stresses. Yeah. So in this one, there is one shell, sorry, there is one plane which carries the maximum shear stress. Here, the maximum shear stress in case of the principal stress, the formula is sigma n1 minus sigma n2 upon 2. This is the formula to calculate the maximum shear stress in terms of principal stresses. These are the principal stresses here, and sigma C and sigma L are also the principal stresses here. So this can be written as sigma C minus sigma L upon 2. If I simplify this, so the maximum shear stress inducing the thin shell, cylindrical shell, is given by tau max equal to sigma C equal to PD by 2T, sigma L equal to PD by 4T upon 2. So if I do that calculations, I will get PD upon 8T. So the maximum shear stress induced in the thin cylindrical shell, maximum shear stress induced in a thin cylindrical shell is equal to PD upon 8T. Here we use the concept of the principal stresses. Here, so this sigma C and sigma L are nothing but the principal stresses. Here, any doubt? Okay. One important thing is here we are derived this formulae assuming that the shell is a seamless shell. We are not going to consider any kind of joint here. Okay. In second part, here we are going to consider on this shell, here we are going to consider a riveted joint. Shell is connected or joined with the help of riveted joint. If the riveted joint is there, what is its effect? Here, what will be its strength? Whether it will increase or decrease here, and how? In that case, how to calculate this circumferential stress and longitudinal stress? That we'll study in the second part here. But here, for designing this, we are assuming that it is a seamless shell. There is no any joint, and other kuch joint heavy, because without joint it is difficult to make such type of shell. Even in cylinder also, you can observe that some joints are there. Okay, so here for this formula, even if there is a joint, not riveted joint, even if there is a joint, we are going to consider that joint as a welded joint. That joint is considered as a welded joint. Here, whenever it is a welded joint, here the strength of the welded joint or efficiency of the welded joint is always greater than the strength of this parent material. Here, strength of the welding joint is always greater than the strength of the parent material. Whereas in case of a riveted joint, here the strength of the parent material is more than the riveted joint. Okay, here, so when there is a welded joint, you can use all the same formulas. But whenever there is a riveted joint, here there will be little bit change in the formulas. Here, then how to calculate that? That we'll study later. Okay, so this is the first part. Here, when there is a seamless shell, or if there is a joint, it is a welded joint. Here, so circumferential stress, longitudinal stress, here, and maximum stress, maximum shear stress, PD upon AT. Now, after studying these stresses, here we are going to study, here just 1 minute. Okay, am I audible? Am I audible now?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Now, for this thin shell which is subjected to some internal pressure, here these are the stresses induced, and because of that stresses, here the dimension of the shell changes. Here, ultimately the volume will also change. Here, now we have to study what will be the change in dimensions of that cylindrical shell. Here, so let's consider this cylindrical shell. Here, this is the internal diameter D, this is the thickness, and this is the length. Here, it is subjected to some internal pressure. Okay. Now, on this surface, here let's consider this small patch. Here, the stress in acting along the length is the longitudinal stress, and this is perpendicular to that here, which is the circumferential stress. These two stresses are perpendicular to each other. Here, let mu is the Poisson's ratio, or 1 upon m is the Poisson's ratio here for this material. It is the Poisson's ratio for this material. E is the modulus of elasticity. Now, because of this internal pressure, we have to calculate what will be the change in length, what will be the change in diameter, what will be the change in volume. Yes. So, to calculate that, first we calculate the circumferential strain. Circumferential strain. Okay. So, how much is the circumferential strain? I am going to denote it E suffix C. Here, now since it is a circumferential strain, it is a change in circumference to the original circumference. If you express this change in circumference and original circumference in terms of diameter, here for this circumferential strain can be written as the change in diameter upon original diameter. Because of the change in circumference, here is your circumference, here it changed like this, here because of the pressure. And when there is a change in circumference, the diameter will also change. Here, so this circumferential strain can be written as change in diameter upon original diameter. Here, just remember what we have studied in the first lesson. Yeah, when triaxial loading is there, how do we calculate the change in length, change in breadth, or change in width? Okay, here same concept we have to use here. Now we have to calculate the resultant strain in the circumferential direction. Here, so resultant strain in the resultant strain I am talking, which is the strain because of the sigma c as well as the strain because of the sigma L in circumferential direction. Here, so the circumferential strain, here strain in this direction, here is equal to the strain because of this circumferential stress, it is sigma c upon E. This is the strain in circumferential direction because of this sigma c. Similarly, in this circumferential direction, there is a strain because of this longitudinal stress also. Here, we have studied it, the triaxial loading. So, what is the strain in circumferential direction because of this longitudinal stress? Here, that is the lateral strain. So, how we can write it? It is minus 1 upon m or mu into sigma L upon E. Okay, so this is the linear strain in the circumferential direction, and this is the lateral strain along circumferential direction. This is the strain in circumferential direction because of the longitudinal stress. So this is the resultant strain. Here, this is the resultant strain, resultant circumferential strain, sigma c upon E minus mu into sigma L upon E. Resultant circumferential strain. Here, so if you calculate this sigma c and sigma L, here with the help of this you can calculate this circumferential strain, and this circumferential strain equal to delta D upon D. Here from this one you can calculate the change in diameter because of this internal pressure. Okay, here this way you can calculate the change in diameter. Here then longitudinal strain. So I am writing here EC circumferential strain here, which is equal to delta D upon D, which is equal to here sigma C upon E minus mu into sigma L upon E. Now, the longitudinal strain. Because this is the strain along the length, and this longitudinal strain is responsible to change the length. So, longitudinal strain equal to delta L upon L. Okay, here because of this longitudinal strain, the length will change. Now, how we can calculate this longitudinal strain? It is E suffix L. How we can calculate this longitudinal strain? Again, this longitudinal strain is the resultant strain in the longitudinal or along the length. So, along the length, this stress is acting. Yes, so ये stress की वजह से जो length change होगा और जो strain रहेगा, that is the linear strain, and this can be written as sigma L upon E. This is the strain in the longitudinal direction because of the stress acting in the longitudinal direction. Now, there is a stress in circumferential direction also. So, we have to calculate the strain in longitudinal direction because of the stress acting in the circumferential direction. So, that becomes the lateral strain here, so which is equal to minus mu into sigma C upon E. So, this is the strain in longitudinal direction because of sigma L. This is also the strain in longitudinal direction because of the stress acting in circumferential direction. Ye pura. Okay, here. So, this longitudinal strain is equal to, it is sigma, or which is equal to change in length upon original length, which is equal to sigma L upon E minus mu into sigma C upon E. Listen, here by substituting the value of sigma C and sigma L as PD upon 2T and PD upon 4T, here this EC also can be written as in terms of PD and T. ये मैं PD और T के term में भी लिख सकता हूँ, same way this also. Here, but personally I will suggest you that instead of writing this formula in terms of PD by T, just remember this basic formula. ये basic formula याद रखो. Okay, here डायरेक्टली PD by PD और T के टर्म में अगर आपने फार्मूला बाय हार्ट किया तो आपको उसका कंसेप्ट ही समझ में नहीं आएगा. जस्ट फार्मूला याद रहेगा और कंसेप्ट समझ में नहीं आएगा. यार यहाँ पे ये फार्मूला देख के आपको समझ में आएगा कि ये आया कहाँ से. So to calculate the resultant circumferential strain, this is the circumferential strain because of sigma C, and this is the circumferential strain because of sigma L. Here, so this is the linear strain in circumferential direction, and this is the lateral strain in circumferential direction. Okay, understood? So remember this basic formula instead of converting it in terms of P, D, and T. Okay, this is the linear strain, this is the lateral strain. Here, this is the linear strain, this is the lateral strain. Here, so personally, I suggest remember this formula instead of in terms of P, D, and T. Here, so by using these two formulas, you can calculate the change circumferential strain and longitudinal strain. And with the help of this circumferential and longitudinal strain, you can calculate the change in diameter and change in length. Here, sometimes if it is asked to calculate how much amount of or what will be the change in length and change in diameter, for that one you have to calculate this strain. And with the help of that, you can calculate this change in diameter and change in length. Now, next point is the change in volume. How to calculate the change in volume? For that, we have required the volumetric strain. Okay. Now, for this cylindrical shell, here we know that the original volume equal to volume of the shell, not the volume of the material. Yeah. So original volume of the shell is given by pi by 4 into d square, this area into length. This is the original volume. Now we have to calculate the change in volume. To calculate the change in volume, let's differentiate it partially. Here, so it is delta V equal to, it is pi by 4 into d square, pi by 4 into d square into delta L plus second into derivative of first, it is 2d into delta D. Product rule I have used here. Then, which is equal to, it is pi by 4 into this term, it is d square into delta L. Here, I am going to divide and multiply this term by L. Okay, small adjustment, plus here L into 2d into delta D. Here I will divide and multiply by D. Okay. Now from this term and this term, I will take d square common. So it is d square. And again, I am going to take L common. So pi by 4 into d square into L. Yeah, so यहाँ पे क्या बच गया? Delta L upon L बच गया. Plus this 2 times, it is delta D upon D. Okay. Now which is equal to, this is the original volume of the shell, into this is delta L upon L plus 2 into delta D upon D. Delta L upon L is EL. Okay, here, and this plus 2 into delta D upon D is EC. Here, and this delta V, if I take it V on this side, which is equal to EL plus EC. And this delta V upon V is the volumetric strain. So for cylindrical shell, for thin cylindrical shell, the volumetric strain is given by, it is EL plus 2EC. This relation you have to remember. Here, for the thin cylindrical shell, here the volumetric strain is given by, it is longitudinal strain plus 2 times the circumferential strain, EL plus 2EC. This is the volumetric strain. Here, in first lesson for triaxial loading, here, do you remember what formula we used to calculate the volumetric strain in terms of strain? In terms of strain, can you tell me what was the formula for volumetric strain for triaxial loading?
X plus
Unmute and tell me. क्या फार्मूला यूज किया था? डू यू रिमेंबर? ऐसा ट्रैक्सियल लोडिंग का सम सॉल्व किया था ना हमने. सपोज दिस इज वन क्यूबॉइड हियर व्हिच इज सब्जेक्टेड टू द ट्रैक्सियल स्ट्रेसेस. हियर दिस इज सिग्मा x, sigma y and sigma z. Okay, for this triaxial loading, what was the formula for the volumetric strain? Here, so for that formula was strain in x direction plus strain in y direction plus strain in z direction. ऐसा लिखा था ना, फिर हमने उसको further simplify किया था. But for cylindrical shell, the volumetric strain equal to EL plus 2 times EC. It is analogous to this. Concept भी same way से हमने derive किया इसको. Okay, here. So volumetric strain, here for the cylindrical shell is given by EL plus 2 EC. So you have to calculate EC, EL substitute here, you'll get the volumetric strain, and then this volumetric strain equal to the change in volume upon original volume. From this one you can calculate the change in volume for the thin cylindrical shell. Okay, here any doubt? This formula you have to remember, as well as you have to remember the derivations also. For solving the sum, these formulas are important. Okay, these are formulas for the thin cylindrical shell. Clear? We'll solve few questions in the next lecture. Then what will be the effect of the joint, rivet joint, that we'll study. And in next lecture, here we are going to study the spherical shell. Okay, here, thank you. Write your name and roll number in the chat box. Next important thing, the syllabus for the test IA2, torsion, bending stresses. These two topics are on one CO. Okay, and second CO, this thin cylindrical shell. Thin shell, cylindrical as well as spherical. Okay, your test will be based on these two CO. Bending stress, torsion, and the thin shell. Okay, today, tomorrow, and day after tomorrow. In 3 days, I am going to finish this thin shell.
Sir, what will be the pattern for examination?
One question is on CO, second question, CO1, second question will be on CO2. Okay, these are not the CO1 and CO2, but one question will be on this CO, second question will be on this CO. यार ये मिक्स नहीं होगा. अंडरस्टूड?
सर थियरी भी रहेगा कि ओनली एमसीक्यूज?
थियरी भी रहेगा, एमसीक्यू भी रहेगा. लास्ट टाइम जैसा ही क्वेश्चन पेपर रहेगा. ओके, यार पूरा एमसीक्यू भी रह सकता है. यार few questions will also may be there. Numerical questions may be there. Yes, so you have to prepare accordingly.
सर एंड सेमेस्टर एग्जाम का कुछ है
मतलब नहीं, अभी तक वो एंड सेमेस्टर एग्जाम का कुछ भी आइडिया नहीं है. पेपर पैटर्न कैसा रहेगा, क्वेश्चन पेपर कैसा रहेगा, उसका कुछ भी आइडिया नहीं है. यार कभी कुछ ये आता है, अपडेट्स आता है, नेक्स्ट डे नेक्स्ट अपडेट आता है. ओके, सो फॉर ऑथेंटिक इंफॉर्मेशन रेफर द एमयू वेबसाइट. Date mostly in the last week of December, maybe in the first week of Jan also, but later consider, imagine, or last week of December. Okay, second important thing, today I sent some videos on your WhatsApp group here, which I will upload on the Google Classroom also. These are the experiments, 4 experiments we have conducted in the lab, and that shooting we have seen it on the WhatsApp group, as well as I will upload on the classroom also. Here you have to just go through that videos properly. Here, listen carefully to that video. Now, what I will do after your internal assessment test, I'll explain that experiment over here also. Exactly what calculation you have to do. Here, in that shooting, there is only introduction about the machine or about the setup, okay, and how to conduct the experiment, how to take the reading. Here, but after taking the reading, how to analyze that reading, that I will explain you here. Okay, here maybe after your internal assessment test. Here, those for those who have the KT exam, here try to attend if you have the time, or otherwise here refer the videos here from your Google Classroom. Okay, thank you. Write your name and roll number fast.